Hi guys, this is the pre-session analysis for Monday. Actually, it is the 8th June 2026 pre-session analysis, and let's just straight dive into it. We have this FOA range. Over the week, nothing significant has happened on our FOA structure, so we are still gonna follow the 15-minute structure. However, before I mentioned I wanted to see a break of this high at that moment for me to believe in that 4-hour continuation. However, right now I want to see a break of this high for me to believe in that continuation. On the 4-hour, what we had this nice trend change at this moment, pull back, break. At this current moment, we are trading within this range. So let me just go straight into the 1-hour. Alright, and then here we have this nice break of structure, and we have done this, right? We have this leg. However, at the moment the pullback is not confirmed. Actually, let's just say the pullback is confirmed because there is this change of character which almost is a confirmed pullback. However, currently personally I would like my price to pull into that range of the 0.3 range. So in the weekly analysis I did, which either I will combine it with this video or upload prior to uploading this video. Overall, in the weekly analysis, we expected price to, after mitigating this POI, price to produce that pullback, and as expected, price did produce that overall pullback. Now, I don't want to beat around the bush too much, but the overall scenario as explained in the weekly analysis is that below our equilibrium, I am going to trade that pullback. Alright, what is equilibrium? Equilibrium is the 0.5 level. So, if my price does not mitigate that equilibrium and has a pullback, I will be trading this pullback. Alright, I will be trading this whole pullback then. Lastly, let me move on to the 15-minute and explain the current opportunity that I see. By the way, this was like a minor change of character at the moment, or whatever you may call it, that made this a strong low, sorry. So this is a potential inducement right now. Alright, so what happened? This was used as that inducement for those big buyers or sellers to enter the market, and we have that break of structure, we have that POI. Let me just move on to the 1 now, and right here, this is my 15-minute, alright. And this would be that 15-minute edge. So what I want now, what do we expect after a break of structure? After this, we expect a pullback. I want to wait for that pullback to mitigate this POI, and to look for buys I will be targeting my 1:3. Ideally right now, ideally I want price to have that little come into this zone and then begin its pullback down here before making that move. And lastly, there exists a possibility that from this point price can actually come and break this low, which is low probability, but yes, it is still a possible scenario. Yep, that's all. Let me do a quick recap. So on the 4 hour, nothing changed. We are still going with the 15-minute structure, which is this, and we had that new lag to the continuation of our 15-minute structure, which is this. The one thing that changed on the 4-hour structure is that from this high, my new high is this, that I want to see violated for me to follow that continuation of the 4-hour. Now let me quickly go to 1 hour and explain this structure. So after this breakout, alright, what we expected from this 4-hour POI, we expected a decent pullback, and we are getting that pullback. And what was our plan? Our plan was below the 0.5 level, or what you may call it the equilibrium. We want to trade the pullback, which is this, alright. We want to trade the pullback below the equilibrium, and above the equilibrium we have these two POIs. While this POI can potentially give that reaction, but we certainly do not believe in this POI, alright. We want to either see a trend change by this POI that can signify that maybe this POI is the one that will potentially lead to this breakdown. However, ideally we want to see price come up to this POI before the resumption of the underlying trend. And at last, on the 15-minute where our entry will be, we have an entry model as right now, but we have this inducement, alright, we have this strong chain of demand, and we have that breakout structure, imbalance, everything. Now we just want to see that pullback into this POI for us to enter and target that 1:3. However, there is one scenario where this trade is invalidated. That one scenario would be price go above the equilibrium. Alright guys, that was all for the analysis. Actually, let's see some scenarios. One scenario is that price does directly move up to the equilibrium where our trade idea is invalidated. Second is price does directly this where we cannot do anything, our stop loss will be hit, and it will be a stop loss of a good trade. Lastly, for our opportunity, we want to see a mitigation of this POI for us to enter. Yes, that was all. Now the last thing we want to do is mark our today news, and just to inform you all, the session analysis or the pre-session analysis ends right here. Right now we are just going to mark the news or the important news that will come and end the video. So Australian dollar is a bank holiday, And there was this news that came 36 minutes ago, but Iran armed forces announced end of military operations against Israel, one of harsher attacks if Israel resumes attack on Lebanon. It's a good news, I think. Yeah, because they are stopping, right? Let's read some comments. Clowns, you thought Israel will not respond to your terror madness because you are luring Trump with the promise of reaching a deal. Alright guys, there is there is like a slight possibility that a rat news may come in our today's session, alright, but that does not change our underlying analysis. Alright, bye everyone. That was all for the pre-session analysis. Soon I will meet you all in the post-session analysis. Start recording. Hi guys, this is the post-analysis session for June 8, Monday and 2026. And in our pre-session analysis, we identified this POI from where we placed our order to target this high, and as we can see, as of right now, price is still in that pullback and it has not mitigated our POI nor it has broken this week high. One thing that has happened is that right now our pullback has been confirmed. Now there are three scenarios that can happen in this situation. Scenario number 1, price come down steady, alright, mitigate our POI or our order to be accepted, trigger it and then goes in our direction, right. Our second scenario, price comes down, does something here and goes up. In our second scenario, the main essence is that price never triggers our order, and without triggering our order, price can come as down to this point even, and then if it goes up, it is still considered in our second scenario. Now our last scenario is that our low right here gets violated, alright. And one thing I want to identify here is that price is as of right now building this steady liquidity as it is going down. However, there has been this consolidation that could potentially be that actual move or could be before the actual move. A quick summary, we are currently in the rollback waiting for price to mitigate or execute our order. Scenario number 1 is our trade goes perfect. Scenario number 2 is that without triggering our order, price goes in our direction of buyers. Scenario number 3 is that our SL is violated. Alright guys, that was all for the post session analysis.